I'm just going to talk about a couple of reasons why you should exercise. A couple of less obvious reasons. Exercise is obviously brilliant for lots of things, your body, your mind, everything. If you're a non-exerciser, I was certainly one of those people who I did no exercise really in my 30s. But I'm very much one of those, I get the runner's high and get the endorphins. I'm like, yeah. I've never ever been out for a run and come back in a worse mood. That's never happened. So if you're new to exercise or you're thinking, why should I exercise? Find something that you can really buzz off. As I say, I love running, a big running advocate, but it's not for everybody. But there will be something out there for you. You just have to try. There's a huge amount of sort of endurance events, bike events, cycling, multi-day events now. Take your pick. But if you do something like that, the event is very much the cherry on top of the cake, if you like. For a marathon training cycle, for example, it can be 12, 16, 20 weeks. I mean, if you do 20 weeks, it's nearly half a year. If you've never done it before, then everything's kind of brand new, so you learn a lot all the time. You'll be out there running 4, 5, maybe 6 times a week, getting used to that, getting your body used to that, getting your mind used to that as well, especially if you've been somebody who hasn't done any exercise. And there are some people who will just go straight for the marathon, will just enter a marathon. It's a big change, it's a big shock, so it just takes a while for your mind to go, okay, we're doing this now, we're going to be running a marathon, we're running 4 or 5 times a week. For example, because I did my first marathon in 2015, the training program, I didn't really do a dedicated training program. I just did, sort of one long run, a tempo run, and a few other, it was very kind of on purpose. I just wanted to, have a go, see what it was like. I didn't do a dedicated plan. I'm going to be training for London in October, hopefully. If you handed me that training program in 2015, I'd be like, whoa, this is, what are you talking about? But every year that's gone by, I've just got a bit stronger, my body's a bit stronger, and more importantly, my mind has adjusted to this now, so it's not like a shock. It's a stretch. At certain times there's going to be big mileage weeks, lots of runs that are very specific to the event and to the time I'm trying to run, and that type of thing, intense workouts. But if you do the same training program each time, then eventually you're just going to plateau, and eventually it's just going to get worse, because your body's great at getting used to things. It'll just get used to it. So what I was doing 2, 3, 4 years ago isn't necessarily the best thing for me now. Yes, there's a lot of endurance stuff, yes, because it's an endurance event, and 80% of it is endurance in the training program. But then the 20% of other things, and other non-running things as well, like strength exercises and resistance exercises and things like that. As you can kind of tell, I'm looking at this in quite a lot of detail now, which is an evolution of the way I've trained and the way I've run. I can obviously see the development from when I was 16.5 stone, but I can see a development from when I did my first marathon and my second marathon. Once you've done something big, just enjoy it, however it goes, good, bad, indifferent. And then you can just take a step back and think, okay, what can I do? For me, there were 2 or 3 things that jumped out after my first marathon and my second marathon, etc., which I could apply to my training, which would help me develop further. I just treat it now as a kind of a project each time. It's like, okay, we're going to have these 16 weeks. We're going to try and get ourselves as fit as we possibly can, understanding what I'm trying to do, what pace I'm trying to run, so that on the day I can hopefully perform at my best. And that's not a given. The idea of any sort of, especially a marathon training program, is to get to the start line in good shape, and B, uninjured or not injured. On the day you can hopefully just relax and race, if you can relax on a marathon. I don't know, I'm trying to relax on a marathon. And the second part of this, again, emphasizing the long term, is just go and spend some time. If you have an older relative, and I'm not picking on, I'm not trying to fat shame people or anything like that, but if you have somebody in your life, an older relative, 60, 70, 80, who is overweight, and you spend a bit of time with them, just observe how it's generally harder for them to live and get around, and it's a lot more effort if they've been sedentary. Life is just harder at that time because you're carrying sort of 20, 30, 40 pounds extra. As I say, I'm not saying that you should absolutely have to do these big events or anything like that. I'm just talking about doing 3 or 4 hours of exercise a week, which, let me just work that out. It's 160. Apart from sleep, you are awake for 112 hours a week. If 4 of those hours are spent on exercise, that works out at 3.5%. So if you look at it in that respect, 3.5% of your waking hours doing exercise is not a huge amount. If I spend 9 hours a week, say doing exercise, running, which is, during a marathon training cycle is easily done, it's only 8% of the hours I'm actually awake. So if we look at it in that respect, it's not a huge amount of your time really. Now again, I understand that people are very busy and it's not always, life gets in the way, it's not always easy to fit these things in, especially if you're just starting, thinking about exercise. 4% of your time being awake, I don't know, that doesn't sound like too much, doesn't sound too bad. The other thing is, it's not a Rocky montage every time you go to this gym. You're not sort of, like flat out all the time. Most of my runs, 80% of my runs are done at just a very comfortable pace for me. My heart rate's below 140 BPM, which is just a comfortable pace. I could have a conversation with somebody standing next to me. Again, exercise should be a gradual process. You shouldn't go straight to the gym and start sprinting or doing the heaviest weight you can. You should just try and really build slowly, and then add other things in if you're feeling comfortable. It's definitely not a Rocky montage where you're absolutely on your limit all the time. It's kind of the opposite of that. Especially in the endurance world, you can just really build slowly. Alright, I've been rambling a while now, so I'll leave it there.